All right, here we fucking go. Welcome to another episode of Shut Up Chanel, the podcast. If you're still listening, you've made your way to episode 8 with Kylie, Sonique Love. I'm so excited to share this episode with you, but I thought I would get on here before and let you know something I've been dealing with. If you heard the new Marco episode, then you heard that I got a new microphone and that I hand crystalled it along with new headphones. And I was so excited about the new sound for you. And then I realized that I used my old microphone for Kylie's episode. I'm not proud of it. I've honestly had some sleepless nights over it. I've reached out to my friends like Sam Garfield, who did my theme song, as well as my editor, in like hopes that we could fix the sound, but there's really no saving it. I hate the sound of my voice this episode, but the episode is so good, and Kylie and I have such a great conversation that I thought it would be stupid to not release it to you all. So I figured I'd come on here and apologize and own up to it and still release the episode. You could listen to it. It's not as bad as I'm making it out to seem, but I wanted to be vulnerable and still release the episode and just tell you it's not my proudest moment. But I promise if you make it to episode 9, then I'm back on this microphone and where I got a new backdrop I'm excited to show you about. And so I wanted to apologize, one, to Kylie for getting in so early with me on this journey that I still haven't figured everything out. But hey, enjoy the episode. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for this episode with Kylie Sonique Love.
Shut up, Chanel. Shut up, Chanel. Chanel, shut up. Shut up, shut up. Shut up, Chanel. Shut up, Chanel. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel. Shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel.
I can hear.
Okay. Don't worry. Fix your hair.
It's going to be on the internet.
I'm just going to use the video for like promo and stuff.
Sickening.
But you look sickening.
Oh, really? Okay. Thank you.
Oh my God. So welcome to the pod. Welcome to the stage. My sister, she is a singer, a dancer, a model, a reality TV personality. I think a pioneer. I think you're Miley Cyrus's All-American Woman, right? You're the winner of All Star 6. Hello, Sonique Love. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you. That was a marvelous introduction. I love it.
Honestly, with starting this pod, you were one of the first people I thought of because how I'm kind of structuring this is like I'm kind of taking the listener through a journey of like my journey in the LGBTQIA plus community and kind of like going through the timeline of my life, and you're at like the very beginning of it. So I kind of just wanted to start off with like, how did we meet?
Actually, we met on the reunion season 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you joined World of Wonder like at the very, that was your first time, right? The reunion. So we had already filmed the season. And then I think maybe 8 months or so later, it was like 8 or 9 months later, then we filmed the reunion, I believe. And that's when I met you, and you had no titties, and you had, before you got your breast done.
Yes.
And you were just so cute, and you were like, just kind of like, hey, they need you. And now you're just like this, like blossomed personality. It's just, I mean, I think we've all like blossomed to a better version of like who we really can be and who we want to be. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I was gonna say like we really did kind of like evolve as women together, you know, like we both in our pre-puberty stage when we met each other, and like we really did, like I mean, we might have even got titties around the same time.
I think so. We transitioned together.
We did. No, and I mean, I was going to bring up, I want to go back to that day because, I mean, like you said, that was my first time on, that was actually, so how it went down was they hired me for Drag U as the talent, like the talent PA pretty much. And that weekend, my first week on set.
Oh, that's right. And you know what? I actually came to the set of Drag U. It was the last day that you guys were filming. So I might have ran into you then, but I didn't realize until we were filming the reunion. But I did show up on set. That was the first time I met Lady Bunny. I also met Shaka Khan. Yep.
Shaka
Khan. So crazy.
The Drag U early days were kind of crazy with like the celebrity guest judges they had, because it was like such gay icons. So like I was learning about drag while meeting these like LGBT icons at the same time. So like it was the ultimate like crash course on like gay history. Back to that day. So yeah, so like I started on Drag U. That weekend, they were like, well, we're doing the season 2 reunion. Since you're kind of getting comfortable with the queens, will you just come and take care of them that day too? And I was like, fuck yeah. So like, cause I was getting to meet, you know, it was Drag U. So I was meeting the season 1 queens. So I was like so excited to meet the season 2 queens. And that day, I remember sitting at the lunch table, and I remember like you all were filming. And I remember it being this, they're like, oh my gosh, like, Sonique's about to reveal something. And I was like, what's she going to reveal? Like, I had no idea. And then they were like, she's coming out as trans. I didn't know one trans person. And I don't even think at that time I knew what being trans was.
Right.
So technically, like, you're the first trans person I've ever met.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Well, I don't even know what to say.
What was that? Take me back to that day. Yeah, like what was that day like? Because had you come out as what? Like, take me back to what you were feeling that day. Like, had you, come out to anyone else as trans, and this was your first time telling RuPaul, or what was going on that day?
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like, people that were really close to me knew what I was going through. And actually, when we were filming the season, I had, talked to a couple of the girls when we had like off day, or when we'd come back to our room. I mentioned it to them. So a lot of the girls already knew. And I know that, I think everyone on set pretty much knew, like anybody that like did the interviews or reviewed any of those, because I did mention it, but I think they do like a follow-up before we come back to film the reunion to find out like what's been going on the past 8 or 9 months. And they were like, okay, so what's new with you? Because I think that's how they figure out like what kind of questions they're going to ask. So I mentioned that like most every single time. But I also was like, yeah, I'm in a rock band, because I had just got into like this rock and roll band, which was really cool. And I was the lead singer of it. And, but they didn't ask about that. So I had an idea that they may ask me about it. I was kind of curious what they would do. A little bit of it caught me off guard, because I wasn't used to them asking me those questions, kind of let me talk. And so when they did, I was just like, oh wow, like this is real, like this is the moment, And I had talked to my mom before I came and did the reunion to let her know, what I was doing. And and I talked about it, and the amount of support that I got from Ru and the cast and just everybody on set it just made me feel really good. And And any doubt that I had about maybe it working against me kind of threw it out the window a lot for me. And I did feel like when Ruth said, you know, you have, like, we are your family and we're always here for you. She said something along those words. And it did make me feel less alone because I didn't really know anybody who was coming out as trans. And like, I've always seen people, they were either are or they're not, you know? And
that's what I was going to say.
Really,
that's what I was going to say. That's like, you know, you probably working in the clubs, like you would only see women that were already trans. Like you didn't have friends that were in the like area that you were in of your life.
Not fully, not really, not quite so much. I knew people that were there were a few girls in Atlanta that we were kind of all starting it around the same time, I will say. But we didn't really, we already knew people that were already, you know, had their surgeries or whatever. We didn't really have resources. So we were just kind of like flying by the seats of our pants, you know, getting hormones from overseas, from like websites, have no idea what we're putting in our body. Because what they did in Georgia was like, they wanted you to basically cross-dress for 2 years to prove that like, that you are a woman, which I thought anybody in their right mind would not do that. Like, why would I try to purposely humiliate myself dressing up like a woman during the to prove that I'm not like crazy, you know? Like, to me that sounds more crazy. I was like, so I figured everything out, and I had a strategy, a game plan, and I knew this doctor. His name was Dr. Hudson. He was cockeyed or cross-eyed or something like that. I never knew which eye to look in.
I know.
So crazy. And I basically said, listen, I'm doing I'm getting my estrogen from offline, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it off the street. And I would much rather you monitor me than me get it, you know, some back alleyway. And he agreed to it. So I didn't have to go through the 2 years of humiliating myself and all of that.
I've never heard that in my life. Wait, so like in Georgia, you would, and how would you prove that? Like they wanted you to like take pictures?
Therapy. They would want you to do therapy with somebody who was, you know, a therapist or whatever, and they would, you know, document everything, and like you would come in like once a month or something crazy like that. And I was just like, I was at the point of like, I can't wait 2 more fucking years to start living my life, and I damn sure ain't gonna wait 2 years to start putting estrogen in me, because I did it like a few times. Like when I was 22, I tried to start, but then I was like, I ran out of medicine, and I was like, okay, well, this is not gonna work. And then I started up again at like 24, 25, and then Drag Race came along, and they were not casting trans people, which is fine, you know. And I was like, well, I just kind of started this, so I can like kind of back off of this to do the show. And then I didn't do season 1. So they told me, because I was casted for it as an alternate just in case. And then I did season 2. So I came off my hormones to do season 2 because I wanted to play by the rules. And yeah, so, you know, as soon as I got back from competing on season 2, I started back on my medication, and then, you know, and they let me talk about it, and it was really scary because I didn't really know anybody else who was like coming out and talking about it. And I did feel alone in a lot of ways. And But after I did come out, I felt less alone, and I started learning more about it through my experience. But I took my time. I didn't rush into it. I didn't go out and get a whole bunch of silicone pumped all through my body. And
who was the first trans person that you were inspired or that you met, that the first existence of a trans person that you saw?
Oh my goodness. So there is, I mean, there were definitely several people that I met. I think one of the first drag queens I ever met in person, she was a trans woman. Like she had titties and everything. And she was like fully painted, like the long lashes and the great hair, great body. And when I seen her, I was just like, oh, like this is incredible. But it wasn't until I met trans people who were living out, you know, just doing regular shit during the day, whether grocery shopping or whatever, and like no one ever clocked them or spooked the tea, and it was just like there was nothing about them that was like, oh, that's, you know, a tranny or whatever. And the more I started seeing those kind of people, because that's how I felt. I felt like I just want to live my life like that. I feel like if I'm able to accomplish to get to that point, I think I will be satisfied, because I try to do all the other things. I try to do the straight thing, the gay thing, the, you know, it wasn't even, we didn't call it back then. It was just kind of like androgynous, you know, but I was like, I'm either going to do this. And so I watched this documentary called Trantasia, and it had like Erica Andrews, Mimi Marks, Maria Roman, and Cassandra Cass. I had like all these like girls, and they were competing in this pageant called the most beautiful transsexual in the world. And so they followed like 7 girls around, and they each like went to like their homes or whatever. And it was great because I got to see these showgirls also live like normal lives, like during the day. I'm, oh my God, like I can still be a showgirl and like live a normal like life, like go to the grocery store, like hang with my family, like those things are not, I needed to see it to know that it can be done. And then I just needed to figure out like how I can do it with little to no resources. And so I just like paid attention, and I was like, I never wanted to like draw attention to myself so much while I was going through my transition. You know, nowadays kids, the moment they even think they feel it, they want the whole world to know. And it's just kind of like in your face, like you will respect me and this and that. You know, it was kind of, for me, I was like, oh God, I know the world is scary because I've been living in it. I've been queer my whole life, and the whole world's been telling me how different I am, and you know that because you're getting picked on and whatever, just by naturally being yourself. And I was like, okay, I spent my whole, you know, childhood and young adulthood, you know, being a target. How can I make the rest of my life less complicated? So I was like, the world will let me know when they see a girl. So I just took my time, and I didn't really fully start living my life like full time as a female until like I'd been on estrogen for probably a year and a half. And I went through the airport. I wasn't even like trying to like wear girls' clothes. It was just very like jeans and t-shirt. My hair was growing out, and I wasn't like fully beaded or anything, like beat mug or anything. And I remember going through the airport, and
the scary place for sure.
Well, it really wasn't as scary. I never felt comfortable going into a men's restroom or a boys' restroom. I just run in and go and do my thing, and I'd leave. I always felt like, even as a kid, like I hated it. I would, if I had to go in there, I would like, please don't let nobody be in here, you know? And because first of all, it just smelled like piss everywhere. It was so bad. And so where am I? Okay. So I'm going into the bathroom and I could see the look on the men's faces coming in and out, looking at me like, am I in the wrong bathroom? Like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm a girl. Like, what is going on here? And then when I came out, I got the same reaction. And then I was like, oh, I think they think I'm a girl. I'm not even fucking trying to do this, you know? And then I go through the little body scanner. They fucking take an x-ray of you or what. And then they pick whether they think you're a male or female based on your appearance. And then they scan you. And so they did. And they scanned my body. And then I look and there's like this big red square right between my legs. And I'm like, okay. And the guy says, I need to get a female agent over here to pat you down. I was like, okay. I was just like, whatever. And she came over and she's like patting me down and all that. And she's like, what's that? She's like, what is that? And I was like, that's my, and her mouth just dropped. And I just had the biggest grin on my face as I walked away and I grabbed my stuff and I was like, oh, God. Like, now I can go and live my life. And I immediately went to Tilly's as soon as I got back and bought me like some little cute cargo shorts and like little tank tops. And I just, you know, I had like this tomboy vibe, you know, and I wasn't trying to do too much. I wasn't trying to like be the most femme, high heel skirt, pink, you know, extension. I wasn't trying to do all that. So let me just take my time and grow it to my transition. And I think that really helped me like not have to deal with a lot of the chaotic stuff that a lot of people have to deal with now. And yeah, because I know that when you're going through a transition, the people around you are also going through a transition, especially people that already knew or thought they knew who you were beforehand. So I've always been like conscious of that. And I just want to make this experience good for everybody. And this one girl told me in Atlanta that she was trans and she said, you know, if you do it right, it'll be a beautiful experience for you. And I never forgot her saying that. And I'm so glad that she did, because so many other girls, they would say, oh, you're going to get on, it's going to drive you crazy and you're going to go crazy and this and that. But she was the first one and the only one that ever told me, if you do it right, it will be a beautiful experience for you. And I was like, I like that. And that's how I want it to be for me, because my whole life before then had been chaotic, crazy. Well, she was right. And she was right. And I manifested, you know, that. And it hasn't been easy, but it has been beautiful for me. And I've been able to, like, you know, I can look back and see, you know, like I paced myself through this and I didn't rush through it. And sometimes I didn't even think I was going to reach points that I really felt like was necessary. And like, even like last year, tomorrow will be a year that I had like my like surgeries that I've been wanting for the longest time. And so last year I really felt like I did the surgeries that kind of completed my transition for the most part. But like people wouldn't know that. They thought that I was already done, because like I think 2012 is when I had my breast done. And you know, people just assume, oh, then she's finished. But there was so much more, you know. Once I knew that people saw me as a girl and I started changing my wardrobe slowly, I went and I immediately did all the necessary steps to get my name changed and my gender marker changed. And I did a lot of that alone. Like really, I had to go to the courthouse by myself and I was so nervous, like having to go and present, like I wanted to change my name from this name to that name. And I was like, oh my God, what if they look at me and they said no, you know, like, do you feel like there's some like,
like you have bad days just like good ones. Like, do you still have days of like self-doubt? Or like what's been the hardest part of this? What's been the hardest part of this journey for you?
Well, I think what it is I think we all do. I don't think it's even just a trans thing. I think it's just being a human in general.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have, because I remember even feeling that before I transitioned, you know, like having self-doubt. But I think it's that little bit of self-doubt that it can either motivate you or it can do the opposite. And I think it motivated me. Of course, it gets you down and you feel sorry for yourself for a little bit. But you're like, okay, I can either sit here and cry about this, or I can try to find solutions to make this better. And what I've learned too is nobody else's money in this world is going to fix you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I've had men try to like take me away from everything and want to pay for everything, but I had to leave the drag behind and all that. I was just like, I don't want somebody else to have control over me. And it was just, I was determined to make sure that like, no matter what happened, that I was in control of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that motivated me even on the days where I didn't have money or food, or I didn't know if I was going to be able to afford to live in my place anymore. Like just knowing that like I have no choice, it's sink or swim. It motivated me. And the days where I didn't maybe feel as feminine, you know, I just probably some of those days I would just sit at home and be depressed. I think a lot of us get like that. I don't think it's just a trans thing.
No, it's not.
And it does get better. Sometimes you just have to kind of experience that depression a little bit and eventually just kind of figure out what it is that's causing it and try to figure out how to change it. And I'm like, is there anything that I'm in control of that I can do to make my situation better? Is there people that are in my life that are, I say this, if you're not helping me in the sense that like, then you're in my way. And if
we're not evolving, if we're not growing, then you're just holding me back, kind of thing.
And people who don't encourage you to reach your goals, and people who doubt what you're doing, and you can't have those kind of people in your life. And I noticed a lot of people were like weeding themselves out of my life, and I was weeding these people out of my life, and these were like friends that I've knew forever, and I just would have never even, we would not be friends anymore, whatever. And I just started realizing so much we hold on to so much toxic energy because we've had these long relationships with people. And it's like, you know, you can't, at the end of the day, you cannot think about like the time that you've invested with these people. You need to think about like where they have grown to and where you are, and if it complements your journey or not, because not everybody is supposed to continue with you on your journey. You know, some people are going to be, you know, not there anymore, and that's okay. And I had to learn how to let go of those people, and I'm okay with it now. And I wish them the best, you know, and, but like, I've learned to be okay with it, and you can't bring everybody with you.
I feel like I just saw that Michelle Obama and Oprah Netflix special, and they talk about like sometimes there's just not room at the table for everyone. You know what I mean? Like it's like who's going to be at your table? Like who's building you up? Who's evolving with you? And some people just don't make it to the table. You know what I mean?
No, especially if you didn't bring nothing to it.
Well, and especially as you level up, like I think my therapist talks about that sometimes. It's like as you level up, like sometimes those people are still at that level, at that frequency that you were at, and now you're at a different frequency. And so like the universe isn't allowing them to be in your life anymore because you've like leveled up. You know what I mean?
And so many times we try our hardest to like make it work and try to figure it out, and then it never does. You're like stressing yourself out when trying to force something. But you said like you're on a different frequency, and you're like, why isn't this one like being able to like, you know, be here with me? And it's just like, not everybody can be on the same frequency as you forever, you know? When I started my transition and I my physical transition, and I started physically seeing myself in the body I felt the most comfortable in, was when I was more open to that, and I started being comfortable enough. I think once I was comfortable with who I am, then I was more comfortable with not putting any boundaries on and like my attraction and stuff like that, you know?
I think that's what it is.
So
I think it's you. That's when I think that's like, and I think that's why like it's easy to find yourself in like once you're in the community, because you feel safe and you feel like you could be yourself finally. And like it was easier. It's easier to like pick one lane when that's all you've known, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's dating like for you? I feel like not enough people talk about how hard it is for trans women to date in today's world.
It's not hard for trans women today. It's not. I think in general, it's like you have people that have a hard time dating and you have people that don't. I know plenty of trans people that never have an issue with dating. It's just a lot of people don't know how to date. And that's really what it comes down to. A lot of times people want to date people that aren't available to date. They may look like what you want to be next to, and you're trying your damnedest to make it work, and then it doesn't. But if you got to just meet somebody who's on the same, you know, path that you're on. For me, I used to try to make things work, you know, and that's not always good, because you like overlook these toxic things and you're like, okay, but like we can work on it. But you shouldn't go into a relationship thinking we can work on it. Like if you go into that and you try to work on it and you see that it's not working, but you still stick around, chances are it's just not gonna like work out. I've never had trouble being in a relationship or dating someone or finding someone to date me through my entire transition. It's just, I mean, I've dated a lot for sure. But
no, I think you're right. I think you're totally right in that, because like I do the same thing. Like it's like you sometimes you have like you almost fantasize, like you could fantasize about dating someone, but like it's not the reality of life. You know, like it's like you're going after the wrong guy. Like you're going, like it's like I like to go after bad boys because I think that's what I like, but it's not actually what I like. Like it's almost like I like emotionally cutting myself or something.
If you go after a type, a superficial type, like, oh, they gotta have money, they gotta have this car, they gotta be this tall, they gotta be this color, they gotta have these color eyes. If you start doing all of that, chances are you're going to be really unhappy, because it's just not, I mean, that's what I've learned from me. You can't just go after your type, because there's going to be parts of that are like not healthy for you. So as I've got more experience with dating, I've become less superficial in ways and thinking, you know, because like I used to say, oh, I only want to date like Latin guys, you know, like once upon a time. I was like, okay, well, you know, or I don't know, somebody that wasn't one, basically. And this doesn't always, you know, you just got to be open, and you'll know when you meet somebody. And I know there's been people that probably were a great match for me, but because they didn't meet the criteria of like the
Mhm.
height or the color or the this. I
Mhm.
just completely passed on them. But you know, you live and you learn. And I have been dating somebody for a year and a half now.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
put my yeah, I don't put my relationships publicly. I don't do that since I think 2013 or 14. I stopped doing that. It's not healthy, especially when you are already a public persona.
Mhm.
I think it's super unhealthy, and anybody who you date that wants you to promote
Mhm.
them, so to speak, that's to me is a red flag.
Mhm.
Um, I think the things that you truly care about, and especially when it comes to your home, I think you should keep private. You know, there are a lot of things that you need to keep private, and we live in a crazy world where we can have access to anything and everything all the time. And
Mhm.
people don't even have to, they don't even have to like care about they could be a fan and they could see you being happy with somebody. And just because they see you being happy with them,
Mhm.
they, they will do whatever they can to try to distract what the person that you're with,
Mhm.
just to say, oh, he was in my DMs, or oh, he gave me his
Mhm.
number, or but you also were a fucking nasty ass bitch going and sending messages too, you know,
Mhm.
and all of that. So a lot of times people, it's a game for them. They can't
Mhm.
find their own happiness, so they see somebody else happy and they want a piece of that. So I was like, you know what? It's not important to me to brag about like who I'm in love with and
Mhm.
all of that. Like people that are close to me in my inner circle,
Mhm.
they met, you know, my lover and that.
Mhm.
But as far as like uh publicly dating somebody, it's just not
No, that's so
uh
smart. And that sounds like
some
it sounds like
yeah.
someone like you've been like dealt with shady people in the past.
Oh, 100%, 100%. It's
And thank you for
you just
correcting
gotta
me. Thank you for correcting me earlier. I want to be corrected. When I said it was hard
about what?
when I said it was hard to date, I'm glad that you corrected me because I feel like that was
It's not
totally
easy.
yeah. I just think it's not easy dating in general, and I should have never put a label on it to say that it had to do with trans women.
Well, because some people say that, and that's like this thing. It's like a thing that people say, and it's like, oh, it's hard if you're trans to date people. No, it's just yeah, we're like a small percentage of, you know, people. So
Mm-hmm.
it, you know, and I I think
I
that's
almost said it in
probably
like I
the
almost said
pull.
it in like a protective way because I know that men are awful. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And I've
I
seen
think
people
we
like
all.
Trace Lissette and stuff post what it's like online dating with guys, and it just like it makes me so angry. You know what I mean? And so that's all I was getting at. But I'm glad you corrected me because yeah, that's a narrative that I shouldn't be pushing.
No, well, it's just not easy dating and like for
Mm-hmm.
anybody, especially with social media and a million bazillion fucking dating apps and all of that. It's like really, you know, I love an old school love. You know, I like that, but that's not where we live today. We live in a society where people have access in multiple ways. They will
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. Everyone is a detective. They will figure it out. They will find it out. They will dig like a dog
Mm-hmm.
to get the bone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, honey, I already ate the meat. If you just want the bone, then the bone is all yours.
Oh my God, I was listening to Very Delta, which was amazing, by the way. I'm obsessed with Very Delta. And you were talking about Dream Girls. I totally forgot that you were a part of the OG Dream Girls. That drink This is the first drag show that I saw post be like working on Drag Race, and I became like so addicted. Like what night of the week was it? It was like on Wednesdays.
Tuesdays at Rage.
Tuesdays at Rage.
Tuesdays
and
at Rage.
I went every Tuesday until I started hosting at Avita. And then I remember I had to stop going to Dreamgirls because it was the same night of the week and I like couldn't do both. But I forgot that you were a part of the Dreamgirls. And did you join the Dreamgirls after Drag Race, or were you always a part of it?
So after I filmed the reunion, which I want to say, I know it was the same weekend. It was the weekend after White Party. I do remember that. And because me and Gigi actually were rolling on Molly, and I believe it was, it stays in your system for at least like 2 or 3 days. So I know when we were filming the reunion, honey, we were still rolling. And I knew. So anyway, that's beside the point.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
You've just been on the pod, so it's great. And we talked all about her sobriety. So.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. But after my lease was over with in Atlanta, which I want to say it was like June or July, something like that, the end of one of those months, I moved to California and I stayed with Morgan in Riverside. And I think I did like a couple of shows with the Dream Girls, and probably within a month or less than a month, Chad asked me to be part of the Dream Girls. And I was gagged because I knew like the show, the cast that you wanted to be in if you were doing drag in Southern California. And I'm just so grateful for Chad for seeing something in me to add me to the cast. And it really helped me evolve a lot in my drag and helped me be a lot more professional. I mean, it was harder in the beginning because in Southern California to do drag, like there's a lot of driving you have to do because we would do gigs in Riverside and San Diego and Long Beach and West Hollywood, like all over the place. And it wasn't easy in Palm Springs. So it helped me a lot. It was not easy. And I was part of the Dream Girls for many, many years. And I was the first girl from RuPaul's Drag Race to ever move to Southern California after being on the show. And I think shortly after it was Pandora and Yada Sophia.
See, you're a pioneer in so many ways.
I have been. I mean, I don't like to toot my own horn, but bitch, if it works, toot it. You know?
I feel like I remember that night, didn't they? I think they like announced it on the stage that night and like brought you out flowers, and it was like this whole moment.
Probably. I think so. I believe so. It's so hard.
And for the listeners, like I just like there was that NSYNC like what was the Dream Girls intro number, and you would have to like know the 2-step dance in the beginning, and it would like open the show.
It was Dream Girls theme song from the movie with the Beyonce Dream Girls, and with the Dream Girls. We got Dream Girls. I loved it.
And there would be like different themes. There would be like different themes each week. And like
they had themes. Yeah, there was a lot of theme shows. And that was the part where I had to like really try to evolve my drag, because I was just so used to like going off cuff and like whatever I was feeling that night, that's what I was going to do. And like, horror nights. And I was like, fuck, I don't really like to dress up scary and shit like that. Like, I don't really have a lot of that. And then they have like Disney night. I'm like, fuck, I don't do Disney shit. Like, I never went to Disney as a kid. Never did any of that. So I wasn't like crazy obsessed with like those things. And for me, I just love doing drag to be a girl. And that's what I wanted to do. And that, yeah, I mean, and honestly, like once I transitioned and but I I felt a little weird doing drag shows, but I'm like, well, this is all I knew how to do. So I just need to make sure that I'm a good performer when I'm on stage. And I think too, once I got more comfortable with who I am out of drag, I've been able to have a lot more fun in drag as well. Because there was like a point where like when I started my transition where I was like, oh, I don't want to do too much because I want to look like a wood carving or a man in a wig or a dress, you know. I was trying to be as like less crazy makeup as possible. And I just wanted to give like, you know, demure ish. But now that when I can take all of it off and have no makeup and I still see, you know, a girl, I'm like, okay, we can have fun. We can do big makeup. We can do lashes, big hair, have fun with drag again. So I've been able to have more fun with drag again, honestly.
I was gonna ask that because I feel like there's like a certain part in like your career where like do the two like do you have to work at separating the two of them? Like this is Kylie, this is my drag persona, and like what is that struggle like? Because I think people assume like because they used to see on Drag Race back in the day, like it'd be like, oh well, like being trans on the show is like cheating, and it's like no.
I mean, the girls today don't even wear hip pads or titties. Sometimes not even a wig. And I'm just like, and sometimes they're painted more up in the confessionals than they are in the workroom than they are on stage. So it's just like, what is it even anyway? Now, like before it was like you had to be to toe the most feminine mystique, you know, your proportions needed to be right. Your you know, you needed to give that. And now there's really no rules other than if the judges like what they see today or not. You could, you know, I've seen girls who were what I thought was polished from head to toe be read for filth, and people who I thought probably wouldn't even get a paid booking be praised, you know, and it's just changed so much. But I will say, I don't think that trans women have a leg up on a drag competition no more than a queen who just happens to just be a fishy queen naturally. You know, look at Pheromone. She's an absolute stunning queen, you know. I don't know how she lives her life today, but I know then she was fucking gorgeous. And even like somebody like Valentina, like these are like beautiful, beautiful queens that look better than a lot of trans women that I've seen, or just cis women or natural born women or that I've seen. So it doesn't really matter. Like you're either fucking sickening at what you do or you're not. Like it don't matter whether you have silicone pumped all in your body. There's plenty of boy queens who've been on the show with silicone hips and silicone face and stuff to make them look more feminine. Hey, look, if I can go buy it for me, you can go buy it for you. It's just a personal choice. Now, there are queens who are plus size who utilize their breasts to make themselves look like they have bigger breasts. And there are people who don't, you know, and it's just all it's like your aesthetic. It's like what you want to do with it. So I don't think a person who's transitioned has like I said, a leg up on the competition. You know, that's just my opinion. So
no, I completely agree. What was that?
I was going to say some artists are painters and some are sculptors and some bitches do both.
No, it's all a spectrum. Like we don't have to check one box ever. You know what I mean? Have you seen the new Barbie movie?
I've seen it 4 times already.
What did you think of the Barbie movie?
I absolutely love it. I love the message that it has in it. I think it's fun. I think it just reminds me of like, I just remember being a kid and playing with Barbies and kind of getting picked on and being told that I shouldn't and stuff like that. And then to actually like be who I am today. And like sometimes people like even compare me to like Barbie in my everyday life, and to like actually go to see that movie with my mom and us to be able to like really enjoy that together. It's just like a kind of like a full circle moment, you know?
I saw it with my mom
And
and I saw it with my mom and grandma. I think it's so cute you saw it with your mom too.
yeah, yeah, I think I saw it with Miley as well, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. And then the other day I sent it with my mom, and then like I live right down the street from the theater, so I'm just like, whatever, I'm going
I love it.
see
No,
the movie
I'm
whenever
not that I got the message that like we don't all have to be like one thing, that we were like taught like when we were little, like you have to be this one thing or the other. And like we could be everything. You know what I mean? We could be the whole
Yeah.
spectrum of womanhood. Like being a woman is not just one thing. You know what I mean?
It's not one thing, but it's fun to be able to do all of it. You know, I think I think I definitely love the traditional like Barbie with like, you know, this unrealistic body type and unrealistic kind of lifestyle that a lot of girls, it inspired a lot of girls to be independent women and to take control over their own bodies and stuff like that. And then some people look at it like in a way that it just kind of like tries to make women fit into like this box or whatever, but it's maybe you create the box that your Barbie comes in. Like we create our own Barbie, you know, and we can take pieces from this one and that one or whatever, and you create your own. And yeah, so
Oh, you just gave me the
I
chills.
and that's why I loved Barbie as a kid, is because I could vicariously, you know, live my life through this doll. And it made me, I don't know, it's just,
I mean, it's the first time I knew I wanted boobs. It's the first time I knew I wanted boobs. I remember seeing my Barbie's boobs and being like, I want those.
right?
Like I just love and like the shape and the body, and like you like learned how to express yourself through like the clothes. Like there's like I think there were a lot of positives of Barbie.
We live in a crazy world that like we think we understand, but nobody truly really understands. And sometimes being able to just have fun while we're trying to figure shit out and makes, you know.
Well, they just don't tell us. They don't tell us anything about womanhood as a kid. Like growing up, there's just no. You don't learn shit about being a woman. And so like feel like I learned more from the Barbie movie and from my trans sisters than I learned at all growing up what being a woman was like. You know, I learned more about being a woman from drag than I did growing up. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, yeah. What's been your proudest moment of your career?
My proudest moment of my career. Oh God.
I know it's loaded.
You know, well, there's so many moments of my career, I would say, honestly, because the world really was introduced to me from Drag Race, and I've always loved drag because it was like a portal to my future, and I've just always loved being able to express myself and see myself and be celebrated for the feminine parts of me that usually would get picked on or I've been told to hide and stuff like that. And when I did Drag Race and it was like my intro to like the world, I didn't feel like my full potential was like really showcased, and I just felt kind of overlooked on season 2 in a lot of ways. And there just wasn't enough about me for people to like really invest in who I am as a person. But I also didn't really feel like I showed up as myself 100%, but I was still on my journey to who that was. So to be able to come back and get to wear all my clothes and make it through the whole season, and then to actually win, like I had no intentions. Like, I mean, obviously everybody on the show would love to win, but like I never got my sights set on like, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna sing and I'm gonna take the money and I'm just gonna be, I never had like that thought, because like when I did season 2, I was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be sickening and I'm gonna fucking win and I'm gonna take this $20,000 and start my transition. And then that didn't happen. So then all my feelings got hurt. And then I was like, fuck, what do we do now? Like, what the fuck do we do now? To transition is super expensive, all of this. So I was like, okay, I learned from that. Don't have any expectations. Just go do the best you can do. Live in the moment, at that moment. Don't get ahead of myself. Don't compare myself to anybody in the room. Like, just really have a good time. Show up to work and have a good time and to make my experience be enjoyable, not only for me, but everyone around me, the people that are working on the set, to the girls that I'm in the room with. I don't need to be shady to be sickening, but I can definitely have fun. And I think I just went in with a different mindset, and it allowed me to really enjoy the entire process. And I felt like this was like the first time I really got to experience Drag Race the way that it really is truly meant to experience it. And then to win on that was just like, what the fuck? Because I had already felt like, because I made it through all the episodes, I was like, well, I already feel like whatever happens at this point is just like whatever, whoever they pick, because we all made it to the end. They've all crowned us, so to speak. We've all filmed that, so they all think that we're all eligible to win this show, obviously. So we all kind of won. Just somebody gets to go home with a bigger purse. And and I picked to do that, and because of that, like, it was a monumental moment for the show, and for my career, and for the community that needed representation. There was just so many great things, and I think that was definitely something in my career that I'm extremely proud of, because I enjoyed the entire process. I mean, it was not easy. There was a lot of like just preparing for it, and the pandemic, not having any money and not really having as much resources as I would have liked to have. And there were books that I wore on the show that I didn't want to wear, but I had to wear because, things just didn't happen like they were supposed to. And so I just had to make do with what I had. But for the most part, I'm glad that I made it through, and and I'm really grateful that I won. It changed my entire life. And I always had this like feeling that like that show was going to help me pay for my surgeries from back in season 2. And guess what?
Good.
People can say what they want to about RuPaul, but she helped me be the person I am today. Like I to transition fully the way that I wanted to, if I didn't get that opportunity again to come back. And I'm just so grateful for World of Wonder and all the people who've always been by my side, like even, going home forwards. And so I'm just really grateful for all of it. And I think it helped humble me in a lot of ways. Not that I think that I was needed to be humbled, but like, I think I learned a lot of really important parts of life. And
I think Ru and the show evolved with you, evolved with the world. You know what I mean? It's like when the show started until where it is now, like it really has evolved and grown. Like we were saying, like about leveling up and like changing your frequency. Like I think the show did that, you know what I mean? And got to honor you, like such a full circle moment to go from like coming out as trans on the show to then being the first crown trans winner of All Stars. Like that's such a full circle moment.
And then like me and Sasha Colby were roommates during the pandemic, and as soon as I came back home from filming the show.
I forgot you guys are roommates.
We were roommates for that year. And I was like, girl, you've got to do it. Like you've got to do it. And I'm just so happy because her and I were like, there were only like maybe 2 or 3 trans people that were actually doing shows in Southern California, honestly.
It was you two. It was you two.
It was definitely. And I'm just so proud to see her because I know, like, you know, we are not from here. We are not from Southern California. We came here and we started from the bottom and we worked our way to the top in a lot of ways. And like, you know, people, they give you your accolades for or whatever. Say, oh,
before social media.
That helps.
For social media.
But for social media, and then, you know, Sasha being a Continental, like people respected that, but we still had to like work our fucking ass off in Southern California to get the respect and to see her get to do it and her also win. I'm just so proud to see somebody who I call my sister be successful, and she deserves it. And I think there's so many queens who, you know, aren't even around anymore that I would have loved to have seen them get to be on Drag Race to showcase their talent. But
like who?
You know, like Erica Andrews, I would have loved to have seen her. She would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, there's a lot of older queens that aren't even trans that I would have loved to get to see them get to be on Drag Race and get the world recognition that we're getting, because honestly, like, I wouldn't be the queen that I am today without a lot of these queens that like really, you know, set the foundation for a lot of us to come in and make it look so effortless, you know. But we also help lay that foundation as well.
Exactly. Because because you had like the men did that. I think like what a lot of young like drag kids don't get is like back in the day, like you didn't have the internet, so like you had to go to the drag show, you had to hang out backstage, you had to suck up like everything you could from these people to learn anything, because you couldn't just like go on your phone and look how to do makeup. You had to sit in the drag room and watch someone do their makeup. You know what I mean?
100%. And I think too, now that drag is just so accessible, I think it's lost a lot of its charm and mystique to it.
That's what I miss about it. I miss the mystique.
I miss the mystique too. Now you're seeing people perform in full out daylight with no stage, dodging fucking chicken fingers and mimosas. And listen, that is good money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on it. But if you've never seen a drag show and you go and watch a brunch show, you're not really seeing a real theatrical drag performance the way that it is meant to be seen, the magic of it. You know, you don't really get to see a rhinestone sparkle the way you do when it's on a stage. And you can't really appreciate that makeup the way that you do when you see it in, you know, a well-lit room that complements the costume and the makeup and the hair, and a good sound system where when that person is lip syncing, it looks like it's actually coming out of their mouth. That to me,
that is
so magical. And if you don't get to see that and you just see a whole bunch of people dipping, you know, on the fucking floor in between tables, and I'm not knocking that. That's fun. That's exciting. But like, I can't. We were not doing that whenever I started doing drag. Honestly, if I'd seen that today, if that was my introduction to drag today, I don't know if that'd be something that'd be like, oh, that's what I want to do. I would need to have seen it.
original thought of a drag brunch was the Miami Latrice Royale in the middle, during the day. Like those were like the drag brunches that I had known of. And those are fucking fierce. Like those are the ones.
Yes. Intense.
Intense. But like, no, I get what you're saying about. I think drag brunches have become way more mainstream. It is a way to be able to like hire more girls and pay them and bring people to your venue during the day for brunch. But like having the introduction of Dream Girls and and obviously the main stage of Drag Race, but like. But Dream Girls, like there was just something about that, it being in a dark room on a Tuesday night at night. So, everyone in there like is pretty much a part of the community or came with a friend that's a part of the community. And like you were saying, like I thought about that the other day. Like I remember watching some drag performances where like you couldn't tell me they weren't performing that song. Like you couldn't, like the way like. And now people, I think, are performing more for TikTok. They're performing more for it's just different. It's so different than 10 years ago.
For reaction to and like I said, like I'm not bashing any of that.
Love drag brunches. It's evolved.
I think it helps stimulate the queer community. But I will say, like, I had a lot more fun when drag was a lot more of a novelty versus like a McDonald's,
So good. No, it's so true because you said it like perfectly. I just have to ask, how did you and Miley become friends? Because I don't know this story.
Oh, okay, so me and Miley, we first met. I met her. I think it was one of the finales. I think it was the season.
She was. I know that she was a fan from the beginning. Like I remember back in the day talking about Mystique. I remember when Drag Race first started, you either were like a celebrity that watched the show and you watched it because your makeup artist told you about it, or like or you were like. It just wasn't as mainstream. Yeah. And like the only girls that were watching it were like pop stars. And then like, you know what I mean? It wasn't, I remember having to like tell my girlfriends about it back home. But I always knew Miley. Yeah. There was like the Miley Cyruses. There was like the Osbourne, there was like the Kelly Osbournes watched it. But like, it wasn't like a mainstream girly kind of show back then.
Yeah. Yeah. I think her photographer got her turned on to it because he was always watching. She's like, "What is that you're watching? What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, this." And she got hooked, and then she started watching all of them. And then she went to the finale where Violet was winning and Bianca was giving it up, and she was in the audience, and I seen her there, and we smoked out back. And that was that. And then Laganja called me like a few months later, and I was living in Orlando at the time. And she's like, "Hey, Miley's doing the VMAs, and she wants you to be a part of the number that we're gonna do." And I was like, "Oh my God, fuck yeah!" And I had just moved to Orlando, and I was gonna have to. Initially, they wanted me to take like a month off to like prepare for this thing. So I was like telling the Parliament House, "I need a month off." And they okayed it, but anyway, it ended up being like less than 2 weeks. But
I forgot you were at Parliament House.
Yeah, I was there, and so I would see Miley there, and we just kind of clicked from then on. And I remember at the end of after the VMAs, we're at like an after party. And she took my phone and she's like, "I'm gonna give you my number and you have to text me." And I was like, "Okay." And we just kind of been texting throughout the years. And and then I moved back to LA. And we ended up being at Bianca's show together. And I texted her, I was like, "Hey girl, I heard you're here." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm in this row." And she was actually in a row right in front of me. And I look over and she's like waving at me like this. And I'm like, "Oh." And so after the show was over with, everyone had left, and I was in the lobby, and she runs up behind me. She's like, "Hey, And I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, it just kind of, we just, I don't know, it just grew over the years. And she asked me to do, uh, God, what did she ask me to do? She asked me to do that pride thing with her. I mean, we've had a lot of moments together, and we've just kind of always just text back and forth throughout the years. And she asked me to be her drag mama. And she's like, I want to say this in the opening of my show and all of this, but she's like, I can't say if it's not true. And she's like, we know each other in real life, and I want you to be my drag mom. Will you? And I was like, oh my God. I've always felt like this kindred like connection with Miley from the moment I met her. It's always kind of like, I don't know, I couldn't always explain it. It was almost like this person I know them from like a different
life.
Yeah. And
yeah.
life,
yeah. Yeah. Like you've known each other in a different lifetime for sure. Like like twin flames, if you will.
Yeah. So it's been nice. And I don't know. We just always keep in touch. And I think she's a great human, and I think she's super talented. And
I was just being nosy, and it's really cute to watch your guys' relationship evolve over the years. And when she brought you out for that, what was that in Vegas, or when she brought you out for the American Woman moment? Like that was one of my favorite moments of you two together.
Yeah, we did. So we did the Pride special, and then she's like, I'm doing Vegas. It's going to be like the first show since COVID, but in like a first live show. And I was gagged, and she's like, I want you to do it. And we kept going back and forth about like what song we was going to do. And then I think at the last minute, she's like, we're going to do American Woman. And yeah, we kind of like ran through it, but didn't really like a full on like what is going to happen. We just kind of like played it by ear, but had an idea. And we just did our thing on stage, and it was so much fun. And I think her and I have like really good chemistry when we're on stage. I fucking live for her, and the more and more I've gotten to know her over the years, the more I love her and the more I respect her. And I'm just so happy to see, the woman that she's evolved into as well. Like she's really just such a beautiful person, and I'm so inspired by her.
Yeah. No, she seems like the real deal. Like, you just like see people and you're like, oh, I know we would get along. Like she's one of those. Like I just like know that we would get along because we like the same shit. Like Sonique. Yeah, she's Sonique.
And she's super like that term down to earth, whatever that means. She just keeps it fucking real, and I love that. And she's not somebody that I feel like I need to like pretend to be somebody else around. Like I totally feel like relaxed and like I can be myself around her, which is super important for a lot of people. Because I do see people, like even with myself, people get around you and you can just tell like it's not a genuine energy. Just
yeah, you can like feel it in your body. You could like feel it in your body.
Yeah,
I've gotten way too like more kissing your ass. Yeah,
kissing your ass. I was like, don't kiss my ass, honey.
Isn't it weird? Like, it's so weird how like one person, like 4 people could say the same sentence, but like the way that you perceive it from like I have this like I have this one girl, JC, who I call my drag daughter, and she can compliment me all day, and I take it sincerely. I know she's being real with me. Like I'm not like annoyed by it. But then like someone else could tell me that same sentence and I'd be like grossed out or weirded out by it. It's just like certain people.
Because that person does know you and they're not bullshitting you. And that other person is giving you such a real compliment that only somebody that knows you could give you. You know what I mean?
It's totally that.
That's what it is.
That's totally what it is. I've been noticing that lately. What's next for you? Like, what do you got going on? What are you excited about? What's next for Kylie?
Oh God, there's this book deal that I've had for about 2 years, and they've been pushing me to do it, and I'm like, it just never seems to be the right time for it. But I think it's slowly approaching, that
Mhm.
time. And
I think it's time for your book. I'm ready to read
Yeah.
it.
I think it's time too, but like every time I think I know what it's going to be about, whatever, I'm just like, is that what it's going to be? Is that what it's going to be? And I never try to rush anything. If it you know when the time is right, you just go with it. So there's that. There's music. There's more acting, but like not everything. Like I got this part for this movie, and
Mhm.
I haven't filmed it yet because now with the whole strike right now. Um, yeah, so there's that. I'm gonna do a one woman show soon in New York. I'm gonna kind of like uh start it there and kind of like workshop it
I
there
love it.
and try to figure out
I
like
love a one woman show. And I think you are one of those people that people don't suspect you to be like comedy. And you are like, you're really funny.
well thank you.
I think Delta said it. Like, I think sometimes you look at a pretty blonde and you just assume that she's not going to be hilarious. But you are.
Yeah. I think if you get, for me, I don't give out my funny to everybody. And I think it's more so like, you'll know, like if I'm comfortable around you, I'm more playful and you get to see that side of me. And I think too, the more comfortable I am with just showing up as myself, I'm able to like share that with the world. And I love that. I'm getting to see like different layers of myself based on like my confidence. And I think being able to transition the way that I can feel comfortable in this crazy ass fucking world without causing any chaos with it, I think I'm able to really show that side of me. And people, when they see me, they're not like necessarily looking at like a trans woman up here, but just like an energy where they're like, oh wow, we're having fun. Like this is good. Like who is this girl? Like she's fun. You know, I like that. And sometimes I'll me and stuff like that where I'm just like off the cuff, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like who's that girl? Like I like that girl. Like I love to see me like that because I know I'm having a good time. And there's nothing more enjoyable to me than me to be able to know and see that I am having a good time.
And like the nerves of like doing something new too that scares you. Like this podcast, it still terrifies me. Like I get butterflies before, and that's why I'm doing it, to like challenge myself and like do something that is out of my comfort zone, you know?
Yeah, it's you have to just take those steps,
The
and every
risk.
step will
Yeah.
lead you to
Well, you're gonna
to success.
and you're gonna walk in our upcoming Marco fashion show, which is so exciting in New York.
I am. I'm excited. It's been since, I'm trying to think when the last time I got to do it was. It's been a hot minute, but I'm so excited because Marco, I've always loved his stuff even before I knew it was actually him making the stuff. I would see like pop singers like wear these outfits, and I would try to get people to make replicas of it. And then I moved to California, and then I realized like Marco is the one that's responsible for some of these looks. And then he was like, how come I've never had you walk in my show before? I'm like, I'm not sure, but like I'm ready whenever you want me to. And like I've done like 3 or 4 of the shows. And I'm so happy that he's at his 20-year anniversary. And I'm so happy that he asked me to be a part of it, and I get to do it in New York for New York Fashion Week. I think that's so iconic.
It's gonna be so fun. Yeah. And we're gonna get a Guinness Book World Record for most attendees at a fashion show, which is so exciting. Because I guess this venue this venue that we're doing it at, it's 5,500 person venue. And so I guess that's like the biggest attendees at a fashion show during New York Fashion Week, which is so exciting. Wow. I know. So we're gonna no pressure at all, Kylie. You're gonna kill it. I remember like the first show you were in, you did that iconic, you did like some gymnast move that like blew everyone away.
I think I did like a front walkover, but like that, I think that was my first time doing it. And now, like when I look at it, I was like, oh, I should have waited for Willem to come back, and I should have did that
Done it.
when I. Yeah, so I learned every time I see it, every time I see any of them, I'm like, okay, I love that. I love that I did that. I need to I'm like study what I'm doing, and so hopefully this time I can really evolve even more as a runway model. And I'm just so ready to get back on the catwalk again and strut my stuff.
Well, I had so much
Thank you so
fun.
much.
And I'm going to hit you up this week to come into the studio for a fitting for the fashion show. So you'll be getting a text from me. But
I'm excited.
Thank you so much for doing this. And you guys are so nice to me. I don't even think you've ever told me to shut up, Chanel, to be honest. This is probably like the nicest interview I've done thus far.
No, but I do have, we've talked about this before. I do have the sh symbol on my finger tattooed, and then I have the Chanel symbol on my finger as well. So it's kind of like shut up, Chanel.
It is
like Chanel.
No.
It's politely asking you to be quiet.
You are my polite sister. You've always been so nice to me. You've never made me cry. You've never put gum in my hair. Like you've really just always been my nice sister. So does somebody put gum in your hair? Detox put gum in my hair.
I knew it. I was like, the detox. Of course. Of course.
And then made me take a picture without knowing that it was in my hair. Oh God, wow. I could go on and on. Thank you for doing this.
Love you too, gorgeous.
No Love problem. You. Now tell me to shut up one more time. Just tell me to shut up just for good luck.
Shut the fuck up, Chanel. Or do you just want me to say, shut up, Chanel?
Both are perfect. Both are way perfect. I love you so much.
Okay, good. I love you too, Gorge.
Bye.